Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Labyrinth Podcast. I'm Sister Darnisha C. Pickett, past matron of Bright Great Chapter number 136 in Henning, Tennessee, and I also serve Excelsior Grand Chapter, Order of the Eastern Star, Tennessee Jurisdiction, Prince Hall affiliation as its Grand CCFC. And I also serve as Second Lieutenant Commandress of Fatima Court number 30, Oasis of Covington, Desert of Tennessee. And if you all right. Yes, I have with me the Imperial Commanders. How are you doing today?
I am wonderful, and I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to interview with you.
Yes, I am super excited. I have some questions that I am curious about, and I know that some others may be curious about just to learn a little bit more about you. So we'll start off with your personal background, like where you grew up, college degrees that you've earned, and your profession.
Okay, well, as far as I grew up here in Memphis. I've lived here most of my life. For a short time, I moved to Arizona when I married Johnny McWhite. And so I moved to Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona for a short period of time until he passed. And then I moved back to Memphis, where my family, where my roots, where my court was, because I was refusing to leave my court. I visited with the court out there in Arizona, and hopefully I was able to provide them with some guidance and education, but I moved back. I came back to Memphis, but went to Hamilton High School, graduated from Hamilton High School. Yay! And attended UT Martin in Martin, Tennessee, married and had children. But I came back to Memphis and finished my education at Lemoyne on College, where I earned my bachelor's of business administration degree. And so my goal at that time was to be a nurse. Well, that blood and stuff was not doing the lab with the pigs. I thought, let me change. So that's when I went to business administration, accepted a job with the bank and at that time, and I was a teller. So I was probably everything that they offered in the banking industry. I started out as a teller, I was a secretary, I was a customer service rep, and then assistant manager, branch manager, earned my Series 6 license. Whoa, that was a tough license. But after I left banking, I gave up my Series 6 license. Probably a big mistake because that was a lot of bloodshed and tears trying to get that license. But yeah, so I ended my career with Regions Bank as a senior advisor, financial advisor. So that was pretty much it. I'm currently married to James Arradondo, a retired Army. I'm proud of that. As you can tell, I say it all the time, don't I? Retired Army Command Sergeant Major. So I'm really proud of that. The sacrifices that you have to make to do that. So I have 2 sons, have bonus children, so we're a blended family. So grandchildren, and so this past Sunday, I enjoyed my Mother's Day weekend of doing pretty much nothing.
That sounds like the best, relaxing.
It was. I turned the phone off. So everybody that wanted to call me about anything, they had to take a time out. So
I don't blame you for sure. I'm sure you are being contacted left and right. So
Yes.
I'm sure that was much needed.
Yeah.
Could you share with us some of your fraternal and civic organizations in which you hold membership?
Okay. Well, I started out my fraternal journey with Eureka Chapter 241. Was there, and I feel like I grew up in that chapter. They gave me my footing. So, but I served in all the positions there, as well as, of course, the worthy matron. So during that same time in 1996 and 1997, I served as the illustrious Commandress of Mula Court, number 22. So that was, and I was in school at Lemoore. So I was juggling. I was a single mom. So I was doing a lot of juggling. But that was that. And then I went on to join Eureka Court, number 19. Harris of Jericho. So I'm a past most ancient matron for Eureka Court, number 19. I'm a honorary past grand most ancient matron as well of Rosa B. Hudson. So, and then I joined the Guild under a lot of encouragement from my mother, because she was the princess captain. And oh my God, she pushed me. So I joined. And she died. When she died, I dropped my membership. But I was a member of the Guild. And so I'm a past member of the Guild. And also I'm a member of the Golden Circle. So Memphis Assembly 38, Lord Lady. So that's where I'm at right now. And of course, the 48th Imperial Commandress of the Imperial Court. An auxiliary of the ancient Egyptian Arabic orders, Novus Mystic Shrine of North and South America and its jurisdictions incorporated. How about that?
Hey, there you go. There you go. And I'm glad you ended on that note, because my next question was, who introduced you to the daughters, or what drew you to have a special interest in pursuing membership in the daughters and reaching the heights that you've reached?
Well, let me share with you, like many members of this organization, I attended events. And while attending those events, I saw those crisp members in their white, looking all regal, and their fezzes. And that's what drew my attention. And so shortly after that, Charlie Mae Reed, daughter Charlie Mae Reed, kind of helped me, groomed me when I decided to, when I was created a daughter a long time ago in 1979. Charlie Mae Reed was the illustrious Commandress. And so that I came in under her, and she was just fantastic. I mean, she was my mentor, my mother. She and her daughter and I came in together. And so she groomed me. But her daughter and I were probably one of the youngest ones in that court at that time. And she was still in school. I was married, and but I was married with no, and when I came in, it was at the end of the summer, going into the fall months. And back then, you didn't even ask me for all this, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. So back then, when you went into September, I mean, white was pretty much history. So I had on satin shoes, white satin shoes, because that's the only white shoes I could find. And so they teased me about those white satin shoes for a long time because but I was there. And at that time, I think we had probably almost 100 members. And I thought, I will never, ever get to any position. I was just glad to be in the house, hanging around the edges, on the outskirts of the altar and everything. And so that's pretty much the way things went.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. Very interesting. So you mentioned that you were created long ago.
40 and July to be 42 years. I calculated that.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Well, congratulations. That's a long time.
Yes. Yes. And I'm looking forward to
Right,
the.
Yes. So you mentioned that you didn't really have any immediate goals upon joining as a member.
I didn't. I just came in, and at that time we had, now you've got the clown units, you've got the marching team, you got all those kind of things. The daughters really didn't have that kind of thing back then. We didn't have any of that, but we had a bowling team. So I was on the bowling team, and during the time that I started with the bowling team, I was encouraged by a daughter to join, and I had a son, a baby, but I was determined I was going to be a part of this, because whatever I put my mind, when I get into it, I want to give it all. So I was there bowling every Sunday night, and I would take my bowling ball in with my baby. Then I go back, I have somebody hold on to my baby. I'll go back outside and I get the playpen. And so I'll set the playpen up, put him in the playpen, and he became the bowling baby. And they would feed him French fries all night long. So and he's not in the organization. But today he's not in the organization, but he was very much a part of the organization. Both of my sons were, for that matter. When I was Eastern Star, there's a room right outside of our meeting room, and I would bring them there, set them up at that little table right outside, and they would do their homework right outside of that meeting room while I was in my meeting. So like I said, if I started something, I was going to give it my best and give it my all, and they just became a part of it. But again, they haven't joined.
Wow. Well, I bet they were very content. I like French fries myself. So
yeah. Well, you know what? Let me tell you, I had two sons, and one time I left one of them there at the bowling alley. So I thought the dad had one, and I had the other, and I got home and they called me and says, "Did you know you left your baby?" I was like, oh my God. So I was probably had my mind focused on my game. I don't know. But like I said, but when I started out, I had no thoughts of even going to the East in the court. And then when I ended up being the commandress and the worthy matron and in school at the same time, oh my goodness, I probably had very little sleep. But it wasn't until the recordress of the court told me, she's, every year you go through your budget, you plan out your committees, and you come up with everything. And it wasn't until probably the middle of that year, she said, do you know every committee, every program, every event that you've exceeded your budget? And it didn't dawn on me, because all I was doing was trying to make things happen. And it was the same way on the Eastern Star side. But I had a good family support system. So they were there helping me along the way, and they wanted me to be successful. And so it all worked out. It just all came together.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is definitely great to see that all that hard work throughout the years. You know, that's amazing. Can you walk us through your journey from the point you were elected on the Imperial Divan and the years you served in those positions?
Oh,
If you if
I'll
you can remember.
try. I'll try. Let's see. Okay, so um after I got out, let me just start. When I got out of the seat as the commandress, that I just had 1 year that I didn't do anything. I sat on the sideline, and I felt like a fish out of water because I had been going full steam ahead for those 2 years. Like I said, school, everything, all of that at one time. So I was just felt like a fish out of water. And Marie Berkeley, I don't know if you know Marie Berkeley. She was our deputy for the desert. And so I can't remember what happened with our deputy for the Oasis, but she recommended me as the deputy for the Oasis. And so I was like, wow, I had an opportunity to meet the Imperial Commandress. At that time, it was daughter Junior. So I had an opportunity to meet her, and she accepted me. Noble James Poe from Tennessee was the imperial potentate, so he stamped his approval on it, and so we went. Again, I tried to do things outside of the box. At that time, we had not had a move up day. And that was part of our administrative manual. And I'm just reading things, trying to introduce something, trying to build that interest. So I had a move up day for MULA. So now I think all of Tennessee is doing move up day now, but we wasn't doing it. It was there. We just didn't do it. So and that caught the attention of the next Imperial Commandress. The fact that the Imperial Council sold their building in Detroit and moved their building to Memphis. And as I said, I was the manager of the bank where they opened up their account. They had a little bit of issue come up, and I was able to bridge that gap for them. So the imperial potentate, James Poe, called me up, and I'm shaking in my knees. I'm like, what in the world is he calling me up to the podium for? Because he was visiting the imperial court. They were doing their visits. So he called me up and he talked about how I helped them. He gave me this plaque, and the whole time, Gloria Brown Ramsey, you could just see her, she just writing. So, and I'm like, okay, what is she doing? Well, when she became the Imperial Commandress, I held 2 titles. I was deputy for the Oasis, and I was the directress of corporate affairs. So I did both of those at the same time. And wow, again, here I was again doing multiple jobs. So wearing 2 titles. And I thought, this has got to be a mistake, but it wasn't. So, but again, I did that. And, but again, like I said, when I get into something, I'm going to give it my full. I was going to Imperial, I had tunnel vision. I would go and I would take my work tool and I'll map out where I was going, what committee I was going to serve on. I was doing all of that, just doing all that. And so then I thought, this is really what I want to do. I want to be a part of this. This is a part of me. So I decided, I went to talked to my mother, and I asked her, what does she think? And she says, oh, you can do it. You can do it. Well, then I found out Josephine Stokes Weeks was running. I was like, I am not running against her. I am not about to go against her because she was so well known. She ran against 4 other daughters. And usually if you have something like that, you're going to have a runoff. Josephine ran, there was no runoff. There was not a runoff. So 2003, 2002 is when I decided. I talked to the Imperial Potentate, and I asked him his opinion. He told me he thought it was a good idea. However, everything that shined was not gold. And I'm learning that lesson very well now. Very well. And daughter Ramsey, the past Imperial Commandress, daughter Ramsey, she also suggested that I do that. And she said, if you don't put out your campaign material, I'm gonna put it out for you. So I ran, I marketed myself, I gave it my all, because I said, this is a one time and none. I was not going to be one of those that was going to run again and again. I was a one time. So I did a lot of traveling. It's 7 other daughters. It was 8 of us running, and I won. And let me tell you, that was tough. That was a really tough campaign, because at that time I was Jackie Brown. I was running against Paulette Brown, and I was running against Norma Brown Lee. So I was like, oh Lord. So when I got up that morning to pass out my literature, standing in line, please vote for me, please vote for me. And, like I said, remember, it was a Paulette Brown and a Jackie Brown. And Paulette Brown had been a marshal for 17 years. Everybody knows the marshals. So I was like, J before P. That's what I was telling them. So they would keep it in mind. The first J before P. So that was what I was telling them to do. But nonetheless, like I said, when you have that many running, you don't get the full, you don't get the numbers that you need. So there's probably a runoff. So there was a runoff. And guess who the runoff was with? That's right, Paulette Brown. So it was a runoff. I was on pins and needles. Oh my goodness. And I did win. So that was truly a blessing, because like I said, I wasn't gonna do it again. I was gonna let whoever have it, and I was gonna sit there and support. But that was truly a blessing. And I am just so excited, was so excited about that. My mother, when we were campaigning, as I shared with you, I did a lot of traveling. My mother traveled with me. She saw me win. I had an older brother, and they were there nonstop, pushing me on, supporting me. And my mother died. Never saw me serve, but she saw me get elected. So that was a blessing. Same thing with my brother. My brother was not there to see me serve, but he knew that I was elected. I was elected in August of 2003, and he died September 2003. My mother died 9 months later. So I was like, what did I do? But I just continued to give it up my all, and serve in those positions. Another thing that was really exciting for me was, being a Imperial second lieutenant commandress. We had a retreat. At that time, daughter Charlotte P. Alberry was the Imperial Commandress. And that was right after Katrina. So, and everybody was trying to do something during Katrina. So she decided that she would, we'd come up with a disaster relief fund. So she asked for volunteers. Nobody volunteered. Nobody. I was like, somebody got to say something. So I volunteered. And I'm happy to say that form and that format that we use back in 2005, I think that was doing that. Yeah, 2005. We still use that same form and that same formula to calculate the grants, because it's a grant that we give to the daughters. So I was pretty proud of that, that I was able to be a part of that. Then under daughter Iris Moore, they were thinking about coming up with some kind of something to move the Imperial headquarters for the daughters. because every year, and it was the same thing for the nobility as well. Wherever that imperial potentate or imperial commandress reside, that became the headquarters. Well, not necessarily, I guess you call it the headquarters, but that's where their home office was. That's where their office was. So, and of course, that's changed now. So once that building, as I shared with you, the building down on here in Memphis is now the headquarters. So the imperial potentate came up with the suggestion that we need to move our headquarters to Memphis. And so daughter Moore, Iris Moore, came up with a committee. She asked for a committee to look into, the pros and the cons of moving the headquarters. So I became the chairperson of that one. And that was really tough. That was really tough to kind of do that because nobody wanted to move. They wanted to move their office right along with them. So I reached out to sororities to find out how they handle their officers, and so and brought them back that package. So but again, so that's we of course now we are in Memphis with all the pros and the cons of it, and I'm blessed that I get to stay here in Memphis. I'm the first Imperial Commandress to serve in that capacity at that headquarters. So whereas everyone else had to move around and you had to get a contract and pay separate maintenance and pay rent at the headquarters, now I have the opportunity to serve, and like to think that I, saving the Imperial Court some funds. So because I'm right there. But that, and then everything else was just kind of smooth sailing, and Deputy Imperial Commandress, your duties, responsibilities pick up, because then you've got all those deputies. You got the deputies for the deserts, the deputies for the oasis that you have to, read their reports, give them feedback. And then we had a little bit of a glitch where I had to go move in and serve as the interim Imperial Commandress for a few months. So that was another interesting time in my journey to the East. So then after being elected as the 47th Imperial Commandress, well, and then I came into that position 2 years earlier because my really good friend, daughter Ada Irene Dawson, died, and that put me into position 2 years earlier than I had planned. But and so when the Imperial Potentate decided to give her number in history, which meant that I went from 47th to 48th. It was fine. I teased and said, you're going to need to, it's a scavenger hunt to find my history, because I was 47th. I was Jackie Brown. I was Jackie McWhite. Now Jackie Arradondo. And 47th, 48th. But which is why it's always so important for me. I was elected Jacqueline Jackie Brown. I maintained the Jackie Brown Arradondo because I want the history to kind of keep up with me. 100 years from now, this organization, I pray, will still be moving. And when they look back and they write in their book and having their movie, I want them to connect the dots. And I say, well, I think she may have been. Yes, it's all one and the same. So yeah. But that's pretty much it. This year, 48th Imperial Commandress.
Wow. Yes, that is very important when it comes to names with women and researching. It gets kind of hectic, when you're researching women, especially, their names change and different things like that. So that's an amazing consideration to make for future researchers out there. She
Yeah,
Making it available for y'all. Y'all just gotta look for it.
that's right. Yes.
So what aspects about becoming the Imperial Commanders would you say you were most prepared for? And what aspects would you say you were least prepared for?
Uh, the least that I was prepared for was this pandemic. That has been, that was totally, you walk into a position and you have all these plans. When I gave my acceptance speech, I talked about having a updated constitution. I talked about having a new administrative manual, which had not been updated since 2005. So those are the things that I had planned for. Those are the things I had thought through and was ready to hit the ground running. I wanted to also digitize our history because, as I said, history is so important. And you think about what could happen and all your history is gone. So one of my other goals was to digitize our history in our headquarters. If you ever come over to our headquarters and look into what we call the dungeon, and it's just files and file cabinets of just history, and you'll see where it was written out. Notes were taken. The minutes were taken in longhand and written, and it's starting to fade. Some of those things are starting to fade, and then some of it is typed on those really typewriters. And so that's one of the things that I had prepared myself for. What I didn't prepare myself for was a pandemic, going into a pandemic and just being shut down and not knowing which way to go from one time to the next. I was truly blessed that I had the Imperial Media Relations Department to step up and kind of pick up those pieces to help me to, get out in touch from a distance, touch and relate to the members and communicate with the members when they couldn't see me. I couldn't go to any balls. I couldn't go to Desert Conference. I couldn't do any of that stuff. But it gave me the opportunity to reach out and speak with the daughters. Then the other thing that had to turn things around was the Imperial Court Education Development Department, so which is ICE, and that was something that was in the background. The department had been introduced, but it had not taken off yet. It was because it had so many moving pieces. I'm going to assume that, and then you had individuals that had titles and positions, and how do you put these different people in different titles and positions? But it was a must that we had this department. So I launched the ICE department, and that has been the one of the best things that I could have done, was launching the ICE department, because it allowed us to continue to function as an organization instead of just sitting still, which is what we did for a minute, because you didn't know what to do. And the thing of it is that on the nobility side, they had this department. We just had to put ours together and move forward. And so I took the initiative to launch it. I told the dive-in, I says I was making an executive decision, because sometimes when you go back and forth, it draws it out. It draws things out. So I says, I'm making an executive decision to launch this department because we needed it. It was a must. And so they have, we've had creations, we've had leadership training, exaltations, and just it's allowed us to continue to connect with the members. So that's what I didn't prepare for, but thank goodness I did it. So yes.
Well, even though you weren't prepared for it, you definitely made it work and did outstanding job at doing so. What has been your most memorable moment so far as Imperial Commandress, and why?
Mm. Well, let me tell you, and not just as the Imperial Commandress, but all throughout my journey, just meeting the daughters, meeting the daughters, and listening to what they have to say, what's on their minds, what they want to do. That has been very memorable. That's, those are relationships that you can't make them up. You just have to live it. And so that's something that has been really exciting for me, is in putting names to faces, and the travel that I was able to do leading up to this point. I was able to go to Germany and meet, some of these daughters, they don't have an opportunity to come to Imperial. So, to go and meet them and be there for them. So that has been very memorable for me, is to be in that position and to be there to help individuals. We're a sociable, charitable organization. So to be able to be there, touch, and provide guidance and charity, and just recently we had the joint domain Imperial blood drive. I may have had thought let's turn around, but anyway, the blood drive, that was such a blessing. I had gone to donate blood, which is something I do often, and was told that their blood was low. They needed donations. I went to the Imperial Potentate and asked him his opinion on it, and if we could do this as a joint venture, and he said yes. And so that was truly, they truly appreciated it. Vitalant, they really appreciate it. I'm getting letters from them, looking forward to working with us again with that. And so I did mention it to the Imperial Potentate in hopes that this would be something that we can do on an annual basis. And he said he can't answer for after him, but he said that we would have it next year. So I'm going to hold his feet to the fire on that. Let's see if we can continue to do that, because it's so rewarding that, you just for, make the donations to be able to give back to the community, to provide life support. The other, with the St. Jude, he would like for us to do something with St. Jude. St. Jude has a different way that they do it, but I think that we can make that happen. But like I said, those are some of the memorable things and that I've had so far.
Wow. Well, it has definitely been a pleasure so far as having you as our Imperial Commandress for sure. That actually answers all the questions that I have. That wasn't bad, right?
No, that's so bad. I probably talked more than you wanted me to, but
No. Listen, it was very informative. I knew I would learn a lot about you. It's always a pleasure, being around you, because you're always smiling and upbeat and all the time. But of course, you never get that time to ask these questions, right? To really have these conversations and get to know you in this form. So I really appreciate you for doing this interview. We will move to closing remarks for you. I'm glad you came on. I'm glad you were able to make it.
Yes. Well, again, I'm thank you for allowing me this opportunity. I want to thank the Imperial Potentate, Noble John T. Chapman, because with us being an auxiliary, you kind of have to make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. So I did run this by him, and he gave me his blessing. So I want to thank him for that. I want to also say to your audience, if you have that desire to run, give it what you have, and do your homework, map out your plan, and just do it. Just go ahead and do it. I am the first Imperial Commandress elected here in Tennessee. I hope that I won't be the last. So you just have to do your homework, do what you need to do. And when you go to Imperial, there's so much to do, so much entertainment, but like I said, do your homework, and you can make it happen. I'm truly a witness to that, because like I said, members in my court didn't think that I had it or could do it, and I went from being a nobody in my court to the 48th Imperial Commandress. So if I can do it, anybody can do it.
There you go. You heard it from the Imperial Commandress. I just want to end on one note by saying, Tennessee, stand up. Catch us on the next episode of the Labyrinth Podcast. Thank you all so much for joining us and watching. Catch you next time.